The truth was never lost. It was buried, softly, patiently, like seeds waiting beneath centuries of silence. She was not a whore. She was not just a wife. She was not the shadow of a man. She was the keeper of the flame. Welcome to the Remembrance Codes. There are moments when the veil thins and the flame stirs and words that were once silenced begins to rise. And this is one of those moments. I've told you before to listen with your whole heart, but I am really encouraging you to do that today, to make this a moment of presence and listening not just with your ears, but with your heart. This is not a teaching. It is a transmission, and it will be shared in two parts because it is not meant to fit into platform standards, and it does not want to be rushed. These words need to breathe. They need space and the opportunity to land, because pages can be removed, but truth can't be silenced. Before we begin, let us remember the one whose voice we are about to receive. Mary Magdalene was not a prostitute. That was a lie. She was not just a sinner redeemed. She was not a minor character in someone else's story. She was the beloved, the companion, the one Yeshua trusted the most with his teachings. Hers was the womb that held the Christ light after the tomb was sealed. Hers was the body that carried the codes. She was the lineage bearer, the one who stayed, the one who remembered. Hers was the voice that was silenced, not because it was weak, but because it was dangerous. Her gospel was among the earliest writings of Christ's teachings, and it was buried. It was removed from the canon. It was labeled heretical, censored. When her gospel was discovered in 1896, it was already torn, missing pages, words erased. Why? Because it spoke of inner authority, of embodiment, of union, of direct communion. She taught of Christ not to be worshipped, but to be lived. And that kind of truth could not be controlled. It threatened the church. It threatened the empire. It could be buried and torn and burned, but not forgotten. Because Magdalene doesn't need scripture to survive. She lives in the bloodlines, in the breath, in the codes. And now she returns, not to be worshipped, but to walk beside you as you remember. So I do not offer this as performance, and I do not claim authorship. I offer it as someone who has remembered, as a steward and a scribe. I was offered the missing pages of the Gospel of Mary Magdalene in two transmissions and guided to steward them differently. This transmission has returned through the Magdalene field, not to elevate me, but to awaken those who are ready. So if you feel something stir in you as you listen, it may be because you remember too. On my website, I also offer the first person Magdalene Transmission, her raw words of the missing pages. These are held in sacred scroll form to be received in stillness first. You may download both of these transmissions for free from my website if you feel called to lean in. I ask that you treat both transmissions as sacred and share only in right relation. We enter this transmission not as readers of scripture, but as those inviting remembrance, calling forth what was hidden by fear and what now returns through love. So close your eyes if you wish. Place a hand over your heart or over your womb, wherever Magdalene stirs within you, and receive these words as invocation and reclamation. The missing pages. You ask where the soul goes when the body is no more. I tell you, beloved, the soul goes nowhere. It remembers itself. It returns not to a place, but to a knowing. The knowing that it was never bound, never broken, never buried, only clothed in forgetting. The law is not the ladder to heaven. It is the net cast over truth, woven by those who feared the weightlessness of freedom. But the soul was not made for nets. It was made to rise, and it does, when love, not law, becomes the measure of a life. Peter said, "Why should he speak more to her than to us?" And I answered not with argument, but with stillness. For jealousy seeks answers, but truth needs only witness. He saw in me not a woman above men, but the one within all. That is the part they could not bear. The world will tell you that matter is sin, but I tell you, sin is the forgetting of matter's holiness. The body is not a prison. It is a portal. When you touch it with reverence, you remember the divine war flesh, not as punishment, but as invitation. What you seek is already within. The teacher did not awaken us by command, but by presence. He did not save us. He reminded us that we were never lost. So we move now into a deeper current of what was silenced. These are teachings of descent and ascent and the embodied way and the council of life that stood beyond her scrolls. The next reclaimed pages are not chronological, they are vibrational, restoring frequency over order, essence over sequence. These are the teachings that Magdalene once spoke in circles of trust, in groves and gardens, in whispers to those who could not just hear with their ears, but with their souls. The teaching of descent. Do not fear your fall. You must descend to remember. The soul contracts itself into matter, into wound, into name, not to suffer, but to remember that even there, the light does not leave you. The descent is not failure. It is the sacred spiral. You do not become holy by avoiding the dark. You become holy by entering it and finding yourself still whole. The teaching of ascent. When you remember yourself, you will begin to rise. But do not rise to escape. Rise to integrate. Bring the wisdom of the underworld with you. Bring the weeping, the rage, the blood, the ash. Do not come empty-handed into the light. Let the light make love to all that you are. The way of embodiment. The kingdom is not in the sky. It is not later. It is not elsewhere. The kingdom is in the body, made conscious, in the breath that is kissed by awareness, in the skin that is touched with reverence, in the tears that are honored as sacred oils. You do not leave earth to find heaven. You remember heaven by how you walk upon the earth. The Council of Light. They were not only men. They were not only 12. The circle of remembrance was larger than you've been told. There were women who held codes in silence, who poured oil over feet and timelines, who midwifed truth through the veil of empire. We were not called apostles, but we were flame bearers just the same. And the teacher knew. He called us not by title, but by frequency. The return of the wordless page. The last page of this scroll is blank, because some truths cannot be written, only felt, only lived, only transmitted from soul to soul in silence. Now, I have a closing transmission from the field for this podcast. This was not in the written transmission, but is here for us today from the Magdalene field. I do not need to be heard to be known. I do not ask for echo, but for alignment. The ones who are meant to remember me will feel the word spoken and on the page. Let the voice stay still and let the scroll carry my flame. You have just heard what was once removed. You have descended with her. You have risen with her. If your body stirred, if your breath caught, if something felt remembered, you are not alone. A reminder that the Magdalene Living Pages is available in full as a sacred scroll on my website and in the Keeper's Garden. This is not content, it is remembering. Receive it only if you feel called. Thank you for sharing this field and this space with me. Thank you for your presence. Be sure to subscribe so you can continue the journey through the Living Pages next week. Thank you for being here. And thank you for remembering.